Welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, inviting you to join the fight to end human trafficking.
Oh, give me eyes to see. Oh, give me strength to lead. You give me all I need. So give me courage to believe.
Each week, Abolition Radio sheds light on the darkness of modern slavery, celebrates the work of abolitionists who are fighting for freedom, and equips the church to engage in the work of justice with hope rooted in God's Word. Our goal is to see a radio audience become an army of gospel activists.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors. And the ones who still escape our eyes.
Now, here's the host of Abolition Radio, founder and executive director of Love Never Fails, Vanessa Scott.
Thanks for the introduction, David. And hello, everyone. This is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, which is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. We're so grateful for your time and glad that you've joined us today. And I want to also thank our sponsors who have been sort of rallying for us and helping us to get started on this great opportunity to share a bit with you about the fight against human trafficking. Also, I'd like to give a big thanks and welcome to my co-host and colleague, Benita Hopkins.
Hey.
Hi. And Benita, as you all know, is the director of our education program, which is called Love Don't Hurt, and that is for our middle and high school students. And then we also have our Freedom Fighters program, which is targeted at elementary students. And we are just in for a treat today. We're going to be talking a little bit more about those programs, what they entail in detail, and actually some of the stories and things that we've discovered as we've delivered the information in the various schools throughout the Bay Area. And we're also in for quite a treat. A little bit later, you're going to be hearing from one of our learning advocates, Naomi, who has an awesome musical talent that she'll be sharing with all of you. But also, she has a wonderful story that she would like to share with you. And I say it's wonderful because of the life that she's living right now. It may not have started out that way, but I promise you, you are going to be very excited to hear about the end of that story and where it's progressing. So
exciting.
Yeah. So just stay tuned for that. But before we go there, let's take it back to where we left off last week with Benita. Benita, she kind of started to tell us a little bit about how she became involved with human trafficking and began her fight as an abolitionist. And I'd love to hear more from you, Benita, if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience today how you got started and you know, why are you so passionate about this issue?
Well, for me, it was an awareness that came about on traveling outside of this country. And I saw firsthand human trafficking of people, primarily young children and women, and later found out that it wasn't an over there problem. It's a right here in the U.S. problem. And here in the Bay Area, in my own backyard, where we are in a hub, we live in a hub of human trafficking. So once finding that out and receiving training and getting connected with various organizations and realizing the in-depth terror that people who are trafficked live with every day, and learning those things and ways to work in the field, I couldn't just take the information and do nothing about it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do something about it. And I realized that coming out of one of my trainings, I realized that prevention, me being an educator, prevention was key for me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do all I could to help prevent the issue. You know, everyone has their silo, everyone has their niche, and mine was education. So I wanted to use what I had, use the tools that I have to work in that field to bring about prevention piece. And that was the start for me. There was an inquiry to Love Never Fails regarding an international issue. And I was asked if we could help And that was my introduction to Love Never Fails. And I came to my first action meeting on a first Sunday there, and I've been there ever since.
It was a setup.
It was a setup, obviously. I got involved originally with Mentors for Positive Change and became a mentor with the first class of mentors there. And as after then, Love Never Fails was already kind of working in the education field, preparing a program. And so I came in there to bring together a group of people to create and write our education program. And that was a journey in itself, but a great one, a number of people coming together to get that program started with the help of many people. So that was the start for me.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking back to that time, some of the miracles, even in developing the program itself.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I remember after the program was solidified, I was sort of wondering how we were going to go about getting it out, and I prayed about it. And I remember the Lord saying to me, I want you to call up the California Superintendent of Education, Tom Torloxon. Just call him. As if I, because I got it like that, right? So I did. I called up his office, and I had a meeting with his staff within a week. And
a miracle.
A miracle. Yeah. And then we went up, actually, our program manager of Mentors for Positive Change, Misty, and I, we drove up to Sacramento to meet with them. And they learned about how, how prevalent this issue is here in California. And they decided to waive all of our fees to review the curriculum. They waived all the fees. The program. Yeah. And they did inform us that it's, in fact, a program and not a curriculum. Yeah. But during that process, we thought it was a curriculum. So they educated us on that. And they were so helpful, Tom Adams and Deborah Franklin and the whole team there. They just were trying to help us in any way they could. And I just thought, wow, that's amazing. And when I've told other educators about that, our experience, they say it's nothing short of a miracle. We received a letter from them saying that it satisfies health education standards after that. And then we had more work to do, and we put the word out, and we got all these students from the colleges. Remember that?
Right.
They approached you and a couple other people and said, we want to help. And they just went and developed the program. They were in public health, I believe.
Yeah, mental health
program.
Yes. Yeah.
And they all contributed and volunteered their time to create this program that has now been rolled out to how many students?
Wow. Pushing 3,000.
That's is just amazing, right?
In a couple of years.
Yeah. So in our we're going to actually take a break here in just a second, but when we come back, I'd love to share with the group a little bit more about Love Don't Hurt and about Freedom Fighters and what the program actually includes and how people can get involved with maybe being a facilitator or helping us to keep the content fresh. We always need volunteers to continue to come together. And again, we at Love Never Fails feel strongly that it's not up to someone else. It's not up to the government. It's not up to, them.
Right.
This is the part where we all get to be French and say it's we, it's us.
Right.
And take a stand together to make sure that we educate our children. So thank you. We'll be right back after the break.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
This is Pastor Gary from Faith Fellowship in San Leandro. We are so excited about the launch of Abolition Radio every Saturday. And we have seen Love Never Fails under Vanessa Scott grow right here in San Leandro out of our church at Faith Fellowship. And now her ministry, God gave her a passion to get young people out of the sex trafficking and sex slave industry. and she has been doing a phenomenal job. Not only is it locally, but now it's going globally. In fact, I prophesied to her that God was going to use her to go nationwide, and that's exactly what's been happening. She is a woman with a vision, with a direction, and a passion to see these young people come out of this kind of arena. And to God be the glory. Join with her every Saturday on Abolition Radio to hear what she has to say and then become a part of what she's doing. AbolitionRadio.org. Love never fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And we're back with Abolition Radio, which is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Thanks again for joining us. So we're going to talk a little bit now about the Love Don't Hurt education program, which again is for middle and high school students. And we're also going to talk about the Freedom Fighters program, which we've delivered to almost 150 students or so here in the Bay Area for elementary school students. And so, Benita, if you could kind of take us through what the Love Don't Hurt program entails, that'd be great.
Well, first of all, our program is Love Don't Hurt, an abuse prevention and sex trafficking awareness program that meets middle and high school public health standards, as you were mentioning. And why abuse? I wanted to go back to something we mentioned last week, and that was once it really sunk into my brain about the abuse and the statistics on abuse from the Department of Justice, with 65 to 95% of trafficked victims were abused as children. That nailed home to me. And the DePaul School of Law studied 88% of perpetrators were abused as children. That was like a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. Why isn't someone talking about abuse of children
right
to help on the prevention side of trafficking? So that's where it all started for me and us with our program. So our program starts with an orientation, and the orientation can be done in one classroom, in an assembly, in a whole school situation that I'll talk about later. It is 45 minutes to 60 minutes of a brief overview of the types of abuse: emotional, neglect, sexual, physical. And we've included self-solving tools, drugs, alcohol, awareness as well, and some gender dynamics. But primarily the orientation, we focus on the 4 abuses. And we bring in skits and some drama, tools, dolls, things of that nature to really bring home how abuse happens and what abuse looks like. Mm-hmm. Even an old shoe to depict neglect and physical abuse. And the students really get it. They get it from the first moment when we start off with our skit with, some more pop music and displaying or miming abuses happening to an individual. And they get it. Mm-hmm. At the end of that orientation process, we take an assessment of every student in the room or in the class, and with just 10 simple questions, very simple questions: family makeup, what do they consider a boyfriend, but the last question asks, if you need help, whom would you call, and can we help you, and that type of thing. Yeah. A number of students answer yes to that question. Mm-hmm. And we, in turn, will take those results and present back to the administration to say, this is the climate of your school. And every single, I think I can honestly say, every single administrator has said, we need more of this. What is it what can you do for us? What's the next step? And we let them know that the next step is, first of all, getting those students help. Mm-hmm. And we collaborate with clinicians in various organizations around the Bay to come in to help the various students. We are available with our mentors program, Mentors for Positive Change, to have someone to just walk alongside them and be their friend and mentor. But our next phase of the program with these students is called the Academy. And the Academy is a more in-depth program consisting of 6 modules. We take the abuses and divide them up. The first module is emotional and neglect, and we go in depth talking about emotional abuse with videos and PowerPoints and life stories. We bring in one of our advocates who has lived that life. Then we go from, after that module, it's physical, sexual, where we do the same thing. We have one particular activity that we do called our superheroes activity, where the students get to choose if they want to have superhuman speed, superhuman strength, whether they can mind read. Anyway, the students create a comic strip from what they've learned in the 2 modules that they've just completed, what tools they can use with that superhuman speed to work in the avenue of preventing trafficking. Mm-hmm. And they love doing that, that activity. And then we go on to add those self-solving tools, drugs, alcohol, runaways, because runaway population is a huge population of
vulnerable, right?
Vulnerable, right. Of students who get caught up in that environment. Statistics show that within 48 hours, if a student a runaway has not been found, they will be approached.
1/3 of them, right, will be approached for human trafficking.
Right, by a trafficker. Mm-hmm. And we know drugs and alcohol are tools that are used to to make the child or the victim succumb to the things that the trafficker would want them to do. Right. And then the next module, which we call It's a Wrap, is my favorite module because myself or whoever the facilitator is doesn't really have to teach much on that. But that's a period of a module where the students will creatively come up with a means to teach what they've learned, whether it's via rap or video or art or poster, whatever their creative juices are, they use those. And it's during that process, a lot of the students really discover their abuse. And they present that in their presentations. So we're there for them to get them help in that regard as well. And then the 6th module is a graduation, which we, just love on them and give them prizes and meals, and everyone graduates with a certificate. From the program.
Yeah, that is so fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And it's amazing. Some of these young folks that we're working with or that we're presenting to have not gone through graduation.
Exactly.
And so for them to have a sense of completion.
And to see the smiles on those faces.
Yeah.
And the students coming together to form advocacy groups at their schools. To be there for other students that they know are there in their classrooms. And to be there for each other, a support group for each other as well. It works really well. I'd love to tell you some more of those stories.
Yeah. So one of the things before we go, I want to hear your story. By the way. Before we go to that, one of the other things that you do right during the graduation process is you start to get the young people thinking about the Youth Commission Against Trafficking, right, and how they can join YCAT, which is the acronym for Youth Commission Against Trafficking, and how they can join it and what they want to rally around, right? So you kind of start planting that seed there towards the end. Maybe tell a little bit about the kinds of things that people can do, young people can do at that point.
Yes, YCAT is a busy group of young people who we meet monthly, and we have young people from all over the Bay, various schools, Peninsula, East Bay, Tri-Valley, South Bay, and we regionally we come together, like I said, once a month, but regionally we decided that we're going to have walkathons to bring awareness to this topic. Students themselves taking action, making plans to raise awareness and raise funds to fight this issue of trafficking. I wanted to tell you about another story of a young lady in one of our It's a Wrap segments. She shared her story artistically, and in sharing her story, shared of her abuse and by a family member. Mm-hmm. And we always invite the students' parents and families to come to the It's a Wrap as well as graduation. And she was able to let her mom know that a family member.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes, it was so powerful. And the mom welcomed her. The mom wanted to get help herself, clinical help for herself as well as her daughter. Yeah. And it's been a great thing.
Yeah.
Between that family.
Yeah, I think I remember that. And that's not just an isolated incident, right? It's something that we've seen over and over. So,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we want to talk some more about some of these stories that sort of inspire us to keep pushing on. Yeah. And we'll be right back in just a moment.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, where every week we invite you to join the fight to bring an end to human trafficking. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, our nonprofit, which is dedicated to the rehabilitation, education, and protection of youth involved or at risk of becoming involved in domestic sex trafficking. Our goal with Abolition Radio is to eradicate human trafficking in all forms, sex trafficking and labor trafficking locally and globally. We are excited to bring this program to KFAX as we will share stories of hope and opportunities to mobilize the body of Christ and turn this audience into an army of gospel activists who will speak up for justice and act on behalf of those who are trapped or recovering from slavery. Find us on Facebook at Abolition Radio or on the web at abolitionradio.org and join me each Saturday at 3 p.m. for an exciting episode of Abolition Radio right here on AM 1100 KFAX.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Thank you again for joining us. So we're going to talk a little bit now about our elementary school program, Freedom Fighters.
Yes.
Yeah. And we always got to give a shout out to Miss Campbell in San Lorenzo Unified. She's an awesome teacher, and she's kind of given us an opportunity to work with her students. And maybe, Benita, if you want to share a little bit about what that program entails and what we've seen, the amazing work that has come out of the 3rd and 4th grade classrooms there, that would be great.
Well, what we do realize is that, unfortunately, the age of children being abused and used in trafficking is getting lower and lower. Right. The average age in here in the States is 12 to 14. And in one of our cities here in the Bay Area, we're seeing the age at 11.
Right.
Becoming closer to that average. So that typically is 6 to 9th graders, 12 to 14, 11 to 14. But in many instances, younger children are at school abusing and violating other classmates. So, but we know that we can't go into a classroom, preaching sex trafficking to such a young age, but we can still bring the point about abuse to that age bracket. So that's what we've done. Every child understands freedom in some form or the other. And so we taken the issue of those children who are not free to whether go to school or to take have a piano lesson or things of that nature. And the students get it. They understand being bullied and not being free to speak up and that type thing.
Right.
And these young people at this particular elementary school have just taken the issue by storm.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of them have written books about this issue and have been have rallied and gone as speakers to the state capitol, and it's been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The attention that they have taken to the issue, and at such a young age wanting to do something about it.
It's just been incredible. So from the point of the questions in the classroom, right,
Mm-hmm.
that we got, just people after kind of opening up the discussion about freedom,
Right.
and then hearing back from them, is the food that we buy from Costco being made by slaves? Are our shoes being made by slaves? And even at that age, in 3rd and 4th grade, right? Them saying, taking a stance and saying, I don't want to eat food that was made by someone who was being forced to make it.
Right.
I don't want to wear clothing that was made by a child
Right.
in another country that
Right.
was forced to make it.
Right.
Or even by a child that was here, and so just opening the discussion
Yes.
is so important, and yeah, it's just been life-changing for me
Yes.
to see in such a young group.
Right.
Yeah.
It's much easier with a younger child to explain labor trafficking,
Yes.
and because they can get that. And as we know, labor trafficking is much more prevalent, not only here locally, but in this country, but in the world than sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So the children they can really get that labor trafficking.
Yeah, and then even, the issue of sexual abuse and physical
Yes.
abuse is prevalent there.
Yes.
And we saw many students come forward and share that a neighbor, for example, one situation, a neighbor was being abused, and they advocated for that neighbor, and actually were encouraged not to. They were told, hey, don't make waves. And the student just felt such a conviction that they would not let it go. And as a result, their neighbor, their friend, is now in a better situation. So these 3rd and 4th graders, really, they took a stand, right?
Yeah.
One thing we want to mention on that is that we've based a lot of the education that we bring forward to the kids is from the book Thumbelina, right? So we use that as a format, and the book and the movie, we use that as a format for or a platform, if you will, for talking about abuse and using the cartoon characters because they're quite abusive toward each other, and even that was kind of amazing to me.
Eye-opening.
To look at that movie and see that sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect, and emotional abuse are all present in that movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Freedom Fighters. And we also wanted to share with you a new development.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are putting the finishing touches. It's not quite launched yet, but we wanted to just make sure that you and the listening audience is aware that we have partnered up with Cisco Systems and created a STEM program.
Yeah, it's part of our Kick It Clinic.
Yeah, part of our Kick It Clinic. So Benita talked about the graduation and then the forming of clubs.
Yes.
And some of those schools will go on to consume our STEM program. And just to tell you a little bit about that program, what it does is it actually provides those that participate an opportunity to explore their STEM talents and STEM interests. And then to take those, and STEM is an acronym, stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And so, it's definitely something that our country is focusing on at the highest levels of government. And corporate America is hot and heavy on STEM. And, of course, Cisco Systems, being a leader in technology, is also very much focused on developing STEM skills
here in the Bay Area.
Here in the Bay Area. Yeah. And so they have been doing this STEM program in I would say in a couple different school districts down in the South Bay for the last couple of years. But they had an interest in kind of creating a little bit more of a diverse bend around the STEM deployment of their program. And so they have partnered again up with Love Never Fails in order to deliver this program in some different school districts. And it's kind of an interesting model where we're looking to use volunteers that are in the sciences in junior colleges and colleges throughout the Bay Area to actually deliver the message to the children in high school and middle school, and deliver that message about first helping them to do an assessment of their own STEM talents, and then taking that assessment and helping them to cultivate a plan on a way that they can use their STEM talents to fight against human trafficking.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is, like I said, it's in the works. We'll be launching it here very shortly as a part of our Kick It clinics. And if you're interested in getting involved with us and maybe helping to deliver some of that message, we'd love your participation. So yeah. So anything, one of the things that I thought would be interesting is to talk a little bit about that experience that we had with the assembly. We did a very large assembly at Tennyson High School last year. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that.
I will. But first, before I do that, I want to say what a way to end our program in the schools. We start with the orientation, then we move on to the academy in most cases. And after the academy, the Kick It Clinic, and now with this new STEM program. It's great. But to answer your question regarding that glorious day at Tennyson High School, 1,400 students received our Love Don't Hurt program on that day. And we divided them into two groups in the gymnasium. We did the orientation with that school, and we had our clinical staff and had other clinical people come in to help to be available for those students who would need that. And it was a glorious day, and we have one of our speakers who was on our panel who was speaking there that day, and she's here with us today, one of our advocates.
Naomi!
Yay!
So we're going to hear from Naomi, who was one of our learning advocates that day, and she was kind enough to share her story, and we are just so appreciative of her, and we admire her courage and her commitment to her own growth and also to the growth and the safety of others around her. We're going to talk a little bit about her story, and also her passion in life. So just stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
This is Pastor Gary from Faith Fellowship in San Leandro. We are so excited about the launch of Abolition Radio every Saturday. And we have seen Love Never Fails under Vanessa Scott grow right here in San Leandro out of our church at Faith Fellowship. And now her ministry, God gave her a passion to get young people out of the sex trafficking and sex slave industry. And she has been doing a phenomenal job. Not only is it locally, but now it's going globally. In fact, I prophesied to her that God was going to use her to go nationwide, and that's exactly what's been happening. She is a woman with a vision, with a direction, and a passion to see these young people come out of this kind of arena. And to God be the glory. Join with her every Saturday on Abolition Radio to hear what she has to say and then become a part of what she's doing. AbolitionRadio.org. Love never fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, a broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Thanks so much for joining us. We're here in the studio again with my co-host, Benita Hopkins.
Yay.
Hi. And also a special guest, very special guest, Naomi, who's one of our learning advocates. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So Naomi, as Benita was mentioning, we had you out to Tennyson High School where you actually attended in the 9th grade, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe you can just tell us a little bit about, why you're passionate about this issue of human trafficking. And I know you have some artistic expression that you want to share with us a little bit later, which is awesome. But maybe tell us a little bit, how did this start for you?
Okay. Well, I was actually in the life of sex trafficking for almost 2 years. And so 10 months ago, I was rescued. Love Never Fails was definitely there for me throughout that time, and I'm now living a completely different life. But during those 2 years, I experienced abuse in every type of way that you guys are talking about. Emotional, mental, physical, all those things. I was sent out of state, by myself, just totally used, by these men. And it's a cloud when you're in it. When I was in it, it was such a cloud to me. I didn't understand. And I really appreciated going to Tennyson because for me, I never understood what love was. You know what I mean? I never understood what that was. And so when I was approached by this man, the guy who was exploiting me, I didn't know that it was wrong. I thought it was just something that he was doing, you know what I mean? And so, and it's very common now, especially with people that I went to school with. Like, I see a lot of girls involved in this life. And so, for me, like I said, I was sent out of state by myself. I was abused. I was in jail. I was addicted to drugs, all of these things. It was like a spiral effect. It started out just, being exploited in my area. But then the next year I was in New York. I was all over, the United States pretty much. And I was by myself. And nobody came to get me. Nobody came to get me. A lot of people just pretty much, they said that's what she wants to do. She's grown. She can do that, Pretty much they left me there. And I think that's the biggest confusion for people is that a lot of people, they see girls being exploited and they think that this is something that they want.
Right.
And it's not true. I don't think any girl grows up and says, I want to be sold. I want to be abused. It's just something that it happens, and it just happens, and it can happen to anybody. Yeah, and it's not
Any demographic. It's not, selective.
Yeah, it's not selective. Like, it can happen to anybody. And I never thought it would happen to me. Like, before I got into this life, I was married. I had just had a baby. I had my own house. I had a job. I was going to church. And so I had the life that everybody, thought was perfect.
Right.
But inside, even in my marriage, I was suffering emotional abuse. And so when this pimp came along to approach me, I thought that his emotional abuse towards me was just normal.
Right.
Because I've suffered that my whole life. And so
and there's
all these things tied in. And so that's why, I really appreciate the fact that you guys are, going to the schools. Because if I was a kid and I would have been aware, maybe I would have caught that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. If someone had come in and said, hey, what you're experiencing at home is not okay,
Right.
and you have the right to stand up for yourself and say no, then you would have
Right.
known. So just one thing I wanted to touch on, because I know that hearing from people who are thriving survivors, it can be an issue for those that are out there. Some people believe that it's a form of secondary exploitation to actually have you sharing your story in this way. I can tell you I'm not a survivor of human trafficking, but I'm a survivor of all the types of abuse that we've talked about. And for me, it's therapeutic to be able to share my story. I don't know how you feel about what you're doing today and what you did at Tennyson that day. I'd love to, let the listeners know what your stance is.
Yeah, for me, like you said, it's therapeutic. Even in my music, like that's a part of me healing.
Yeah.
Being able to have my voice back because it was taken from me.
Right.
And so the fact that I'm able to speak about it and not feel ashamed and not feel fearful of my life, it's very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And also, speaking out, I believe that God allowed me to go through this so that I can be a voice for those people, that are still going through it, or the people that might be approached with this situation. Like, I don't want to just let that part of my life sit there and become my past. I want it to change other people's lives.
Yeah, we triumph by the word of our testimony, right?
Yeah.
And, and Genesis 50:20, I stand on that, right? What the enemy means for bad, God uses for good.
Yeah.
And he's working through you in your life.
Yeah.
And everything that you experience, every abuse, every time that you were hit or you were sent to that other city, you are a light and a beacon now for those people that are still there.
I so appreciate you sharing that, because so many students have thanked me, particularly after the It's a Rap portion where they've creatively been able to be vulnerable, and share their stories. They've said, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
You've allowed me to get this out, something I've held onto for so many years. They didn't have the family member or the counselor, whomever, teacher, to go through that, to tell that to you.
Yeah. And so you talked a little, you just kind of touched on it a little bit about your music, right?
Yeah.
We are going to be, during the breaks, we're hearing a few clips of your song. I don't know if you knew that was playing in the background. But I am, when I heard that, your song, Broken Dreams, right? I just, I was floored. You're so talented.
Thank you.
And so gifted. And so when did you start, doing music, and where do you hope to take it?
Well, I've always liked to sing and stuff like that, but I never really took it serious. Just last month, actually, I was sitting down in my cousin's living room, and I heard this beat, and I was like, okay, God, like, you're going to have to help me because I don't rap. And so...
yes, you do.
Yeah.
Stop playing now.
And so I had never tried. Like, I always done poetry and stuff. So I was like, okay, Holy Spirit, help me. So I actually wrote that song, like, in an hour. And I know it was God, because even for me, like, while I was writing it, I didn't really understand it until I took a step back. And, like, a week later, I heard it, and I was like, wow, like, this is everything that I've been through. Like,
wow.
And these are the lies that I believed for so long.
Right. Yeah. So. Yeah. The lyrics, like, one day, right?
Yeah. And
one day you're going to have it all.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that dream that's always being held as that carrot that's you're never going to be able to reach it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing, too. I think not only, like, are women being sold, but, like, men are selling these dreams that people they think it can happen one day, like, oh, one day this is gonna be good,
right?
And so that was my way of making myself stay there.
Yeah. Well, and just in speaking with some of our young men, because Love Never Fails works with the young men too. I've heard from them that they believe that if they just get this certain amount of money,
right,
that they'll finally feel whole.
Right.
They'll finally feel like accomplished. Right. And you even, in between segments, you were saying that some guys think, well, if you're the one who holds it down with me till the very end and helps me make the most money, right?
Then you love me. Yeah, that's what I was sharing with you. It's like a twisted idea of love. And so God gave me this idea of starting this movement called A Daddy and a Dollar, because for me that summed up everything.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking for a male figure that was going to love me.
Yeah.
And he was looking, my exploiter was looking for a woman to make him feel like he had some worth, with the money that I was giving him. Right. And it's just really twisted. And I believe in giving back the right meaning of what love is,
That's right. Yay,
Yeah.
Naomi. Well, check out her song, Broken Dreams. It's on SoundCloud. We're going to have it posted to our website and also our Facebook page. And be sure to like Abolition Radio on Facebook. And also you will see we are launching our new website this week. And so you should see Abolition Radio with Naomi's song posted there on our website as well. So please check her out and support her. She will be releasing one song every week for the next couple of weeks. So we're in for quite a treat. Thank you again, Naomi, for being here with us in studio. Yeah, we love you.
Thank you. We love you too.
Okay. So we'll be right back. And we just have a few more things to share with you about events that are coming up. And thanks again for being here with us.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, where every week we invite you to join the fight to bring an end to human trafficking. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, our nonprofit, which is dedicated to the rehabilitation, education, and protection of youth involved or at risk of becoming involved in domestic sex trafficking. Our goal with Abolition Radio is to eradicate human trafficking in all forms, sex trafficking and labor trafficking locally and globally. We are excited to bring this program to KFAX as we will share stories of hope and opportunities to mobilize the body of Christ and turn this audience into an army of gospel activists who will speak up for justice and act on behalf of those who are trapped or recovering from slavery. Find us on Facebook at Abolition Radio or on the web at abolitionradio.org and join me each Saturday at 3 p.m. for an exciting episode of Abolition Radio right here on AM 1100 KFAX.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, a broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Thanks again for being with us, and thank you again to Naomi, who was here with us in the studio, and just a wonderful young lady, and we're so proud of her once again. And we encourage you to check out her music, check out her song "Broken Dreams" on SoundCloud, and it will be also linked to our webpage and our Facebook page. So we want to encourage you to take a listen to that, and also check out some of the new songs that she'll be releasing on a weekly basis going forward. Also, we have a few more events that we want to make sure that you mark your calendars and join us. One of those, so this month is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And as such, we encourage you to become as active as possible. I love the fact that Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday is in the same month, and there's just a whole bunch of freedom and love and, just a whole bunch of good things that are available to you to get involved with. So one of those things is the Freedom Expo that we are hosting. We have an amazing cast of speakers and panelists that will join us at Oakland City Church, and that is on February the 7th. We will be there from 9:30 to 4:30, again, Oakland City Church, and that's 3725 MacArthur in Oakland. We will be talking about what human trafficking is. We will then move on to what we can do about it. And also we will talk about what's being done about it. And so some of what we'll cover you're already hearing about here on this station, but we're going to hear from several of our partners and people that are working really hard in the community. Again, as we mentioned last week, we could not exist. Love Never Fails is one piece of the pie. We really rely very heavily on our partnerships with other churches and agencies that are fighting against human trafficking. I believe Naomi is a member of Templo de la Cruz. She's actually one of their East Bay Masters program participants, and so we are so excited about what those young people are doing to stand up for Christ and also fight against human trafficking. They've been some really great support supporters of ours coming out and doing street outreach with us and whatnot. And there's so many other churches and organizations that are doing similar wonderful work. And so we want to make sure that we all come together as one for this Freedom Expo and for other events that are going on in the Bay Area. Another event that you should be aware of in case you would like to become a facilitator, so a Love Don't Hurt or a Freedom Fighter facilitator, we encourage you to come out the following day after the Freedom Expo, which is on the 8th, and we will be having a training in Palo Alto. And so if you want some more information about that, you can join us and look on our website at loveneverfailsus.com for more details about where that is going to be held, and also to email Benita or myself about how to participate in that. And also, in general, I want to just make sure that you are aware. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we have relaunched our website, loveneverfailsus.com. So that is a little bit more streamlined for you, and this is the second gen of our website after 3 years of being in place. And so thanks so much to those of you who actually helped us to revamp it, and some of our sponsors supported us as we did that. And so please take a look at that. Also like our Facebook page, which is Love Never Fails, and also Abolition Radio. So we have 2 Facebook pages for your viewing pleasure and for you to become aware of all of our ongoing events. And of course, we want to once again put a plug in there for Naomi. Please check out her music, Broken Dreams, on SoundCloud. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you next week, where you're going to hear more from our partners and our sponsors and learn a little bit more about how you can get involved in this fight against human trafficking. And as we always like to say, we want to make sure that everybody on that is listening at this moment knows that you are loved. If no one else tells you today, we want you to know that you are loved. And thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again next week, 3 to 4 p.m. on KFAX 1100 AM Abolition Radio. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on Abolition Radio. We trust that you've been inspired by these stories of hope and survival, and that you'll accept our challenge to get involved by contacting us at abolitionradio.org, by liking and sharing our page on Facebook, Facebook/Abolition Radio, or by making a contribution directly to Love Never Fails. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, which is a donor-supported, nonprofit ministry that Vanessa founded as a way of directly impacting the lives of young people who are trapped in or at risk of becoming involved in sex trafficking. This broadcast needs your involvement and support. To find out more, simply go to abolitionradio.org and click on Love Never Fails. Today's program was brought to you in part by Case Industries and with major support from the staff and membership and donors at Faith Fellowship Church. Our theme song, Courage to Believe, is by Justin McRoberts. Hear more about his passion for justice and art at justinmcroberts.com. Our audio engineer is Jarrell Martin, and this is Dave Naderhood. On behalf of Vanessa, Benita, and the whole team at Love Never Fails, thanks for listening, and thanks even more for taking action to help set captives free.
You were in the neighborhoods we live in. You were in the ones we're passing by. You were in the ones we call our neighbors, and the ones who still sleep our eyes.